So I did a couple of book show and tells. So I did 2 out of 5 of my bookcases, and even since then I've rearranged my books again because I do that every couple of weeks apparently. So some of these have been on other bookcases, and I wanted to start with this smaller secondhand $15 bookcase that is next to the DVDs. If anyone wants a DVD show and tell, it's not happening because there's 950 of them as of today. Alright, so up on this top shelf, a couple of recent purchases. Mermaids, Myths and Legends and Lore, and Fairies, and Myths and Legends and Lore. The majority of this top one is related to fairy tales and folklore. This is Trolls and Unnatural History. This is Swedish fairy tales. Both of these have covers illustrated by John Bauer. We have the story Beauty and the Beast. We have Egan Battista Basille's Tale of Tales, which I haven't gotten around to finishing, which is why there's still a bookmark in there. There's Once Upon a Time. As I have mentioned so many times, some Angela Carter love. A new purchase, Kissing the Witch, Old Tales and New Skins, which I haven't tried to read yet. Bulfinch's The Age of Fable, which is old and I think secondhand. The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt. Probably the book in this collection I've owned the longest, hence it's like really torn up and everything, is 5-Minute Fairy Tales, which I think I only have for childhood posterity reasons. Grimm's Fairy Tales, illustrated by Arthur Rackham. More The Complete Grimm's Fairy Tales. Fairies, Elves, and Goblins, the old stories. The Complete Guide to Fairies and Magical Beings. A History of Irish Fairies. Irish Fairy and Folk Tales. Celtic Myths and Legends. And the Mabinogion, which is Welsh fairy tales and legends. The reason I'm going through this so fast is that I can only record so much before I lose my entire train of thought. So on this shelf we have the Grisha trilogy, which was highly recommended and I haven't attempted to read and don't actually know what it's about. Ghost Girl, which I found secondhand and had remembered seeing floating around my middle school library. The Master and Margarita. The Black Book of Secrets, which I don't know what that's about either. Sometimes I go into used bookstores and just buy a bunch of stuff without really thinking about what it even is. A Roald Dahl box set that's very dusty that I've had since I was a kid. The Witches, George, Marvelous Medicine, The Twits, the BFG Matilda, and SEO Trot. I know I have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory somewhere, but it might not be here. A No Fear Shakespeare copy of A Midsummer Night Dream that my roommate left when she left. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Ronia the Robber's Daughter, which is from middle school, and so is The Death Collector. Holes. The Island of the Blue Dolphins. The Princess and the Goblin. The House of Seven Gables. Great short stories of Nathaniel Hawthorne. The Turn of the Screw and Other Stories. All the Pretty Horses, which led me to realize how much I hate Cormac McCarthy's writing. A Knot in the Grain and Other Stories by Ronald McKinley. Water for Elephants, which it looks like came from a Goodwill. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which I read before I went to school in Savannah. It's a very good book. The movie, while not that bad, is not the book at all. A Grave for a Dolphin, which is admittedly 100 years old in a first edition. I'm a dumbass. Of Human Bondage, which I think is like 80 years old. Behind a Mask, The Unknown Thrillers of Louisa May Alcott. For some reason, it is not sitting next to Little Women, which it should be. The Red Queen's Daughter. Some of these are like my YA novels I've had since teenage years or just picked up out of curiosity. The Looking Glass Wars, which I haven't read in a very long time and don't remember that clearly. A guilty pleasure favorite, A Great and Terrible Beauty, Rebel Angels, and The Sweet Far Thing. And then a bunch of Melissa Marr. So I got Fairy Tales and Nightmares, Wicked Lovely, Ink Exchange, Fragile Eternity, Radiant Shadows, and Darkest Mercy. If she's done more books since then, I don't know, because I haven't read half of them. I liked these a lot better in high school than I do now, which is Wondrous Strange, Darklight, and Tempestuous, which I think is a trilogy. Again, high school mementos, Tantalize from Cynthia Leitich-Smith, and as well as Eternal and Blessed. And I probably already showed these in a previous one. Annette Critics Claus, The Silver Kiss, and Blood and Chocolate. And another childhood favorite that I was especially fond of in like 4th, 5th grade, The Little White Horse, which I then years later was apparently turned into a movie, The Secret of Moonacre, and I got all excited in a really weird way in college because I was like, my childhood, my childhood. So half of this bottom shelf is just empty or partially empty journals, and then the rest of it's poetry collections. So we got the complete poems and selected letters of John Keats. We got Allen Ginsberg's Howl and other poems. It was funny because I bought those at the same time from Barnes & Noble, and the woman who rung me up was like, that's an interesting difference. The Canterbury Tales, Christina Rossetti's The Goblin Market, Transformations, Anne Sexton, The Romantic Poets, which are all my favorite nerds. I have 2, for some reason, collections of Yeats, or Yeats, W.B. Yeats, whatever, he's really Irish and writes about fairies. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, the Fleur de Mal from Baudelaire, Leaves of Grass from Walt Whitman. I got a little tiny collection of Robert Frost, the Pocketbook of Poetry, and then one for if you don't think you like contemporary poetry. This was one I had to get as a textbook in my contemporary poetry class in college, which is The Vintage Book of Contemporary American Poetry. I highly recommend it. I discovered lots of poets that I really, really like in this book. So this is edited by J.D. McClatchy. But you have Sylvia Plath, you have Louise Gluck, you have Charles Simic, Allen Ginsberg, Frank O'Hara, Anne Sexton, John Ashbery, and all kinds of other crazy people. For some strange reason, I don't have any Bukowski books, which makes me really sad because I love Bukowski, but finding collections of his poetry is for some reason relatively difficult, and that annoys me. Anyway, I know this is breezed through a little bit, but I have a lot of books, and it takes forever to sit there and talk about them. So anyway, that's another step closer to showing you all of my books. Till next time, Darklings.